on earth, to manage my affairs on earth, right? So the angels responded, not because they disagreed. The angels responded and said, أَتَجْعَلُ فِيهَا مَنْ يُفْسِدُ فِيهَا وَيَسْفِكُ الدِّمَاء وَنَحْنُ نُسَبِّحُ بِحَمْدِكَ وَنُقَدِّسُ لَكَ. Lord, again, they're not questioning the Lord's judgment. They're just seeking further clarification. Are you going to establish someone that would spill blood and spread mischief and corruption when we are here mentioning and celebrating your name and worshiping you day in and day out? Is that really what you're planning to do, Lord? Again, if my son or my daughter asks me this question, I'll think that they are disagreeing with what I'm saying. But they just sought further clarification. Why? Because they thought that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is replacing them. They thought that Allah is replacing them. And so they were very fearful. Lord, we're here dedicating our entire lives to you. You tell us if we made a mistake, we'll fix it, okay? But don't replace us with man. And that is when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, basically clarified to them, no, I want him to focus on that job on earth. You're doing something else. There's no issue here. So the job, the purpose of man is to do what on earth? Is to be what? Is to be the Khalifa, the trustee of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what does the Khalifa do? Right? Khalifa is like your attorney, like someone that has the right of attorney. Your right of attorney enables someone else to do what? To do things on your behalf, to fix things on your behalf, to buy, to sell. I think in some states they can even marry you, right? What's that? Absolutely, yeah. Because this person works at your behest, operates based on the mandate that you have given them. So if the central ayah of Surah Al-Baqarah, the most important ayah of Surah Al-Baqarah is إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً, I'm establishing a trustee on earth. Looking at the rest of the surah, it actually makes perfect sense that the theme of Surah Al-Baqarah has to do, one way or the other, with establishing Adam alayhi salam to do God's work right here on earth. And what is the work that man is supposed? When I say man, by the way, I don't mean male. You understand what I'm saying, right? I mean both men and women. So the human being, basically. The job of man on this earth is to do what? Like, what is it when we say Khalifa? What does that really mean? Like, what kind of God's work that needs to be done here? To uphold the system of God. Sure. What else? To implement the laws of God. To stay within the boundaries of God. To do what else? Say again? Worship, definitely. Worship God. But aside from that, what else can we do? What about other people that don't worship God? Do we have a responsibility? Yes. Get people to worship God. Make da'wah, right? Yeah. Make this earth a good, beautiful place to live. Fighting crime, fighting evil, fighting tyranny, right? Pushing back against terrible things from happening, right? Establishing khair in the world around us. We've been observing with kind of horror the LA County fires, right? The utter sheer devastation that is happening over there is just, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be with the people in this difficult hour. But sometimes I can't help but see the type of things that we've built in the world, right? I mean, yes, we build homes, we build dwellings, we build places of worship, we build factories, we build highways, we build cities. These are all important things for man to thrive so that we're able to actually do our job and serve God. But there's a dark side to this coin. And that is, we also build means of destruction. We build, absolutely scary, devastating weapons, right? I was just reading recently, all this money that is going to the Zionists, and they're using that to attack a civilian population. I mean, you keep hearing every single day, about all these, F-16s or whatever, all American, American made, all the weaponry, all the missiles, right? Like we talk about it, 30,000 missiles in 1 month, or 25,000 missiles. You know how much it costs per missile? Like $100,000. One missile, the F-16, is like $15, $20 million per jet. Imagine the amount of money that is being spent, the amount of resources, the engineers and the inventors and the designers and the computer programmers, thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people whose sole job is the generation of death. That's all they exist for. And I would understand if we make weapons that would defend us. You know, that I get. We have to make weapons to defend us. Like you can't say, you know, because we have, you know, weapons or standing at the border in order to defend the country from an invasion. That's not wrong. But to use weapons to destroy the lives of others for no reason whatsoever, this cannot be what God created us for, right? So we have to understand that Surah Al-Baqarah tells us Muslims that we have a job, and that job in the world is, like Sister said, first and foremost to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but to also cultivate an environment where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala thrives as a concept, all right? This is why we build places of worship. This is why we have da'wah institutions. This is why we have refugee resettlement programs. This is why, you know, we have agricultural land and farmland in order to produce food. All of that is, this is why we produce culture. This is why we write books. This is why we make beautiful nasheeds that inspire people, right? And so human beings, we have a job in this world, and that is to create an environment that in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a notion, as a concept thrives. Right? And that is what Surah Al-Baqarah is out to teach us. You know, that the mission of man is to be the Khalifa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on this earth. And everything in Surah Al-Baqarah will basically lend itself to this incredible notion. But Surah Al-Baqarah also has really cool ayat in it that have, you know, their own power. And I want to share with you some of the values of Surah Al-Baqarah in general, the spiritual values, right? So in the hadith, for example, Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu narrates that Rasulullah said sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, لا تجعلوا بيوتكم مقابر فإن الشيطان ينفر من البيت الذي تقرأ فيه سورة البقرة. Do not turn your homes into graves. Your home is not supposed to be a grave. How do I prevent my home from becoming a grave? By doing what? By reciting Surah Al-Baqarah, or having Surah Al-Baqarah be recited in the background, right? So maybe on a daily basis, mashallah, you know, moms and dads, you wake up in the morning, you get the kids ready for school, you know, you pray Fajr together, you know, maybe do a little bit of, you know, the dhikr in the morning. But as you're making breakfast, have a little bit of Surah Al-Baqarah, just, you know, recite in the background. It'll give protection to the house, give protection to your children as well. In the hadith, in Imam Muslim, Rasulullah said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, اقرأوا سورة البقرة فإن أخذها بركة وتركها خسرة. Recite Surah Al-Baqarah regularly, because the more you recite from it, the more blessings you bring into your own life, and the more you abandon Surah Al-Baqarah, the more you are or will be at a loss. All right, so we said that the theme of Surah Al-Baqarah is إعمار الأرض. إعمار الأرض, cultivating the earth for good. Cultivating the earth for good. Making the earth ready for goodness. Okay? Think of what we do here, for example. Right? You know, again, we don't gloat, we don't make fun of anyone, but just you know, a 6-hour drive down south where Hollywood is, and all the production of the almost entirely all the filth in the world is produced 6 hours away from us. I mean, think of the industry of explicit material, without, you know, using the word, is down south, right? You know, the movies, the record industry, all of that is coming from that area, unfortunately. Okay, not to suggest that the fires are happening because of that. This would be way too simplistic. All right, you know, we don't think like this. You know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, these are His processes. You know, we don't look into that. But I can't help but remind myself. This, you know, I was talking to Sunday school parents earlier, and I told them about something that I heard on NPR this morning. And so I listen to NPR, and I'm in my garage, you know, doing my morning workout sometimes. You know, half the time they're saying reasonable things, but the other half, they're saying stuff that just boils my blood. You know, they take liberalism into like literally the next level. It's crazy. So they had, you know, we have young people here with us, but I think they're old enough to understand. They had a drag queen featured on the show this morning on NPR. This is publicly funded radio. And they had a drag queen. The point is not that they had a drag queen on the show to normalize this sickness, right? And these are people with mental health issues. They need social intervention. But instead of helping people, we keep enabling this behavior and propping up this behavior, and then just many of those people end up committing suicide and stuff. It's just really sad. But the point is not this. The point is that she was asking this person, whose name is James, by the way. She was asking this person, well, you understand that there's challenges with the drag culture and that parents are concerned about kids and exposure and innuendo and sexuality and stuff like that. And you know, the drag thing is entirely sexualized. Is it not? This is not some alternative lifestyle. It's entirely revolves around this notion. So this person's response was, you know, we're trying to overcome this, and we're organizing a show on Broadway next week. And in that show, drags and kids will be together on stage. And they'll be singing together and be like having fun together. It's okay, you know. He said it's empowering for the children to see people who have weird desires to look different being perfectly respected by and accepted by society. I was like, wait, who said this is healthy? This is the exact opposite of healthy, right? This is the type of stuff that is being imposed on our children, and we're supposed to accept that. We're supposed to accept that it's okay for a man to put on makeup and a dress and go, you know, act like a fool on stage. This is what we're going up against, all right? And so as the khulafa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on this earth, we need to not only protect ourselves, but to provide means for society to protect itself as well. That is the essential meaning of imaratul ard. I need to cultivate the earth for goodness, for khair, for graceful things, for clean things, for sublime things, and not allow ourselves or others, you know, to descend into these burrows of, you know, of sickness and illness and ailment that really ends up just leaving all of us unserved. All right? So we have to take it outside of our masajid and outside of our homes and outside of our families into society and provide people with an alternative. This is what Surah Al-Baqarah teaches us to do. Now, why Al-Baqarah? Why the cow? Isn't that an important question? Like, there's so many surahs in this, so many stories in this surah. There's a story of Adam alayhi salam. He could have called it Surat Adam. I mean, there are other surahs that are named after prophets. Why is this one not named Surat Musa or Surat Adam or Surat Nuh? Why is it not named Surat Muhammad? I mean, there's another Surat Muhammad. Why is it not named Surat Al-Taqwa or Surat Al-Khair, right? Why is it called the word Al-Baqarah? And that's somehow the cow. I mean, the most unlikely thing to name a surah. The cow. What does that mean? Why is it called Surah Al-Baqarah? Right? If I'm a military general, okay, let me replace that. If I'm a politician, okay, let's say, you know, during the Cuban Missile Crisis, remember that in the 1960s? What happened in the Cuban Missile Crisis? Who was president back then? JFK, right? Kennedy was president back then, and then the Soviets placed missiles, actual like ICBMs, placed them in Cuba, right across the pond from Florida, right? You have intercontinental nuclear missiles that were, you know, about 60 miles away from the coast of Florida. Every major American city was within range of those missiles. Okay, so you're the U.S. military. The U.S. military is right here, and who was making the decisions? No, I mean in the U.S. It was the administration. It was JFK and his team, right? Now, the military by themselves, they cannot do anything because their responsibility is to execute But the responsibility of making the decision of giving the marching orders it belongs to the political administration. All right? Now, if JFK told I wish I had another mug or something over here. If JFK gave the orders and told the military, guys, I want you to make this go away. I don't care how. Then the generals will sit down and come up with a plan and execute the plan. 2 days later, the ICBMs disappeared. Okay? But if the president gave the order to the military, I want you to make the problem go away without a nuclear holocaust between us and the Soviet Union, so please make this more tactful. That's when the military, they just started negotiating with the Soviets. Okay, we're going to remove our base from Turkey, and you guys remove your base, from Cuba. Of course, the U.S. reinstalled the base in Turkey 6 months later, but that's not the point. The point is that sometimes the leadership gives general orders to someone to execute those orders, and the leadership will give more specific details. But my job as a soldier is to take the decisions of the leadership and implement those decisions, in one way or the other. In other words, the removal of the ICBMs from Cuba was the byproduct of both the political leadership in the US and the tactics of the military. Wouldn't you agree? There's a shared responsibility in the end. So JFK can't say, oh, I did this myself. And the military can't say, I did this on my own. It was basically both political and military tactics combined together in order. So, in other words, who gives the marching orders? The leadership. And who executes those orders? The soldiers. All right? Our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is kind of similar. Who gives the marching orders to the ummah? Allah Azza wa Jal. Through the Quran. Okay? Now, how are we supposed to execute those orders? We need to ask, are the orders specific? In which case, we will follow the exact letter of those commands. Walk 10 steps, make a right, stand by that wall. That's a very specific order. Or sometimes the order, I want you to protect that city. In which case, as a soldier, I will come up with the plan to protect the city. Sometimes the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are very specific. Pray 5 times a day, this is how you pray. Maghrib is 3 rak'ahs, Fajr is 2 rak'ahs, very specific stuff. This is haram, that's halal. And sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give orders that are more general. I want you to make da'wah. I want you to bring people to the faith. I want you to impact your society. I want you to engage in halal business transactions. I want you to be modest. There are things that are more general, and then we take it upon ourselves to come up with the tools and to come up with the steps and to come up with the ideas that will make that actually work, right? Now here's the thing. If JFK gave general or relatively general orders to the soldiers, and they kept asking him, okay, what do we do here? Okay, fine, do that. Okay, Mr. President, it's rainy today. Should we cross the Caribbean or not? It's fine, just wait until the rain is over. Okay, you wake up in the morning, rain is gone. Mr. President, should we cross the pond now? Yes, please go ahead. Mr. President, they have 3 ports in Cuba. Which one are we going to land on? It doesn't matter, just land on any of them. It doesn't matter. So they land on the South Port. Mr. President, it's 5 miles to the base. What do we do now? What do you mean, what do you do? I already told you, go make the problem disappear. Okay, are you saying that we should start marching on the base right now? Yes, please, go ahead. Mr. President, we are already marching. Can we keep marching? Mr. President, we arrived at the base. Should we start shooting? I didn't say anything about shooting. This is a clandestine operation, right? Just make it disappear. Don't incite a World War III. Leadership would be extremely annoyed if the soldiers keep asking questions every single step of the way. Because at the end of the day, it has to be shared responsibility. The soldier needs to do his or her part. It's not just you're waiting for commands and you're waiting for orders. In order for us to be the khulafa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on earth, truly representing God, then we get, number 1, we get our marching orders from God. And number 2, unless those orders are very specific, we use our own human judgment. and our own human creativity to carry out those orders and to execute those orders to the best of our ability. Does that make sense to everyone? Now, the story of the cow in Surah Al-Baqarah tells you exactly what not to do when God gives you a command. Exactly what not to do when God gives you a command. So in that story, there is a man from the Hebrews that was murdered at the time of Musa alayhi salam. So everyone is like, oh my God, this man is killed. What are we going to do? He's dead. That's it. There's nothing that we can do about it. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to Musa alayhi salam, here's the process by which you ascertain the truth. And it's an unusual process. I want you to slaughter a cow. And you take a piece of flesh from that cow, you strike the deceased, the murdered person with it. That person is going to come back to life, name their murderer, and then die. Okay? Now, I want you to imagine if Musa alayhi salam lives with us right here in Roseville, and then someone is murdered. Musa alayhi salam, he's the prophet of God. Okay? You already trust him, you love him, he's your leader. And he says to you, this is what God said, guys, we need to slaughter a cow in order to actually know who murdered this person. I promise you, your response is not going to be, what color cow is it? That's going to be the last thing that will ever occur to us. And you're not going to ask about the strain of the cow. Is this like a cow from the Netherlands? Is this is this an American cow or a Mexican cow? We're not going to ask these questions, right? Is this a young cow or an old cow? Is this a male or female? We're not going to ask these questions, right? One of us is going to go do what? We're going to go find like a black Angus or something, whatever we find, and then we're just going to slaughter and follow in what Musa alayhi salam is asking us to do. What the Hebrews did at that time is that eternal sin. To not take God's commands and then take responsibility for executing those commands on your own. I'm a soldier of God. I'll get it done, one way or the other. But when you keep asking questions, what does that tell about your spirit?
You're not sure.
It's not that you're not sure. You don't want to do it. You don't want to do it. I don't want to do God's work. So I'm going to come up with excuses, and I'm going to come up with questions. I'm going to keep complicating the situation. Perhaps I'm able to get out of it. Because if I keep asking questions and I can't find what is being asked, then I really looked. I couldn't find any yellow cows, right? But if God says, slaughter a cow, God, done. I got you. And then you use your own intelligence, your own resources, your own wealth, your own abilities and your own agency to execute the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when we say we need to make sure that Islam is felt in Roseville, I can't possibly go to every single family and every single mom and every single dad and every single child and tell them exactly what to do, where they work and where they go. No. I just need to give a general directive, okay, as a spiritual leader. Guys, this year we need to make sure that our neighbors hear about Islam. So maybe a sister will think, okay, how do I get my neighbors to hear about Islam? You know what? Baklava, that's the key. I'm going to bake very delicious baklava. I'm going to share it with them. I'll be dressed as a Muslim, introduce myself. Oh, in our Islamic tradition, we share sweets with our neighbors. And that starts conversations. Wouldn't that do the job? In some ways, it'll do the job. A Muslim high school students, for example, will say, okay, how do I get my class to hear about Islam? Oh, I'm supposed to give a speech in my class about my upcoming project. I will make sure that I intelligently find a way to weave Islam into my speech without being cheesy, right? Like you have to find a tactful way of doing that, okay? So every single one of us is going to find a creative way of executing the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Well, the Hebrews did not do this. They kept asking Musa alayhi salam questions, complex questions about what this is supposed to look like, right? So initially, what is the color? It doesn't matter, yellow. Fine, yellow. I mean, have you ever seen a yellow cow? See, it's getting difficult. It's getting complicated now, right? Now go find a yellow cow. And not only yellow, صفراء فاقع لونها. Like, it has a very bright hue. Okay, I understand yellow, but yellow with a very bright hue. I personally I've never eaten I've never seen any cow that has a very, very bright hue, right? تسر الناظرين. Like it's so pleasing to the spectators. I don't know about you guys. Like when I look at a cow, I see potential steak. Like I don't look at the cow like, oh, this cow's so beautiful. Like, we don't do that. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because they keep asking questions, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is making more complicated on them. It has to be like the beauty pageant of the cows. Right? This is getting complicated. So إن البقرة تشابه علينا. Musa, tell us, we don't know what to do because they all look the same to us. Please give us more criteria. This is the lazy mind. Don't wait for instructions. If Allah kept it general, then just do, right? So they keep asking questions. So Musa alayhi salam plays the game with them, and he says, لا ذلول تثير الأرض ولا تسقي الحرث. So it's not supposed to be a cow that works the fields. This is the pampered cows that is getting pedicure and manicure at home. This is not like your average cow. لا ذلول تثير الأرض ولا تسقي الحرث. It's not the one that plows the earth. It is not the one that is used to water the farmlands either. This is a totally pampered, spoiled cow. Yeah, go ahead and find that, right? مسلمة لا شية فيها. Like impeccable, perfect, does not have a flaw in it. Have you ever seen a cow that does not have a flaw? Right? And so they kept looking and looking and looking for a long time until they finally found one. And the average cost, the scholars of Tafsir say that the average cost of the cow would probably be like 3 dinars or something like that at the time. When the guy that owns the cow knew that this is so important to the Hebrews, what did he do? Raised the price as an underestimation. He actually told them, I want the cow's weight in dinars. And cows are pretty heavy. Like you're talking about a couple of 1,000 pounds or something, right? So they had to pay him a hefty price for this, and they had to do fundraising between the entire Hebrew community in order to raise the money. It could have been much easier. If you just comply with God's command, use your own creativity. See, the Lord didn't even specify the size. I'm going to get the youngest, cheapest cow. It'll do the job. Slaughter the calf. Slaughter the calf, and then do the deed, and then know who basically committed the crime. But as you read the story in the hadith, you realize that there was a reason why they wanted to avoid this. Because once they know who committed the murder, they need to do what? They have to punish that person. And if you punish that person, then you have to go up against their family and against their parents and against all the family relations and all these other political issues that they did not have to deal with. This person is dead, let's just put it behind us, right? And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses that particular story as the name of this surah that details the mandate of the human being on earth to teach you what to do and what not to do. Your job on this earth is to be the trustee of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to implement and execute the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If those commands are specific, then you implement them as they are. If those commands are generic, then you use your own creativity and your own resources and your own mind, but you still eventually get the job done. The other thing that I wanted to share with you is the structure of the surah. So this structure is going to guide our conversations, inshallah, in the upcoming weeks. I'm hoping, inshallah, to finish Surah Al-Baqarah maybe within the next 4 sessions, because like I said, we're already 32 sessions in it. So Surah Al-Baqarah is divided into 4 sections. Section number 1 is the fundamental prerequisites of Imaratul Ard, causing the earth to thrive or cultivating the earth for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The fundamental prerequisites for imaratul ard. What are some of those prerequisites? So we're going to go through this together, inshallah. Strong faith, right? الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ. Strong faith. Al-ghayb here is, the knowledge of the unseen. So people who are trustees of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they need to know that they are getting their marching orders from God. God is a metaphysical thing. God is not something palpable that we can touch. It's not something tangible. God is not something that we can see with our sense perception. God is something that exists in the metaphysical world. Yet, there is enough reasons for us to believe in the existence of God. Because assuming that the universe, which is a contingent thing, created itself would be the most foolish assumption. If any object was created by something else or someone else, then the universe, which is the biggest of all objects, must have been created by someone as well. So you have to have strong faith, because without that, you're not getting your marching orders in the first place. All right? Huda lil-muttaqin. Huda is ethics. So not just the marching orders, those orders need to be moral, and the execution of those need to be moral as well. These are all prerequisites of imaratul ard. Learning from previous experiments, looking back at the nations before us and what they've done and what they have not done, the success stories and the defeatist stories. And there's a lot of these stories that we will see together here. And looking at the previous experiments, take for example ayat 30 to 39. We have the story of Adam alayhi salam. We call it the Adamic experiment. All right? And in that, there is so much. There is education, وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ. There is training, لَا تَقْرَبَ هَذِهِ الشَّجَرَةِ. There is encouragement, أُسْجُدُوا لِآدَمَ. There is forgiveness, فَتَلَقَّى آدَمُ مِنْ رَبِّهِ كَلِمَاتٍ فَتَابَ عَلَيْهِ. So again, we've covered all that. The second story of previous nations that is important for us is the story of the Hebrews. And the story of the Hebrews tell you about the things that you need to avoid. It has all the characteristics of failure. All right? Materialism, constant contentions, manipulation, arrogance. And again, we've seen that story and we've studied it extensively. Then there's a story of Ibrahim alayhi salam, 124 through 141. And that is the epitome of success. The story of Ibrahim is everything that you want to follow. Okay? The ayah in Surat al-Baqarah, إِنِّي جَاعِلُكَ لِلنَّاسِ إِمَامًا. I will make you foremost among humanity. قَالَ وَمِن ذُرِّيَّتِي قَالَ لَا يَنَالُ عَهْدِ الظَّالِمِينَ. Lord, will you extend it to my family and my kids as well? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says no. The unrighteous, they have no access to these blessings. Everyone needs to put the effort on their own. Right? The story of Ibrahim alayhi salam has excellence, ihsan in it. The story of Ibrahim alayhi salam has genuine love for people and care for subsequent generations. رَبِّ اجْعَلْ هَذَا بَلَدًا آمِنًا وَجْنُبْنِي وَبَنِيَّ أَن نَعْبُدَ الْأَصْنَامِ. Okay? رَبَّنَا وَابْعَثْ فِيهِمْ رَسُولًا مِنْ أَنفُسِهِمْ. So here, Ibrahim alayhi salam cares not only about himself or his son or his children, he cares about the subsequent generations that have to come after him. رَبَّنَا وَاجْعَلْنَا مُسْلِمَيْنِ لَكَ وَمِن ذُرِّيَّتِنَا أُمَّةً مُسْلِمَةً لَكَ. So he asks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, myself and my son Ismail, make us both among those who surrender themselves to you and our offspring as well. All right? So genuine care for people, genuine care for strangers, genuine care for the subsequent generations. And then placing credit where it's due. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala taught us, وَإِذْ يَرْفَعُ إِبْرَاهِيمُ الْقَوَاعِدَ مِنَ الْبَيْتِ وَإِسْمَاعِيلُ. It is not just Ibrahim that established the house, it was also his son Ismail. Section 2. So section 1 again is the prerequisites of imaratul ard. Section 2 is the proper environment to cultivate the earth. Now that we are in the process of cultivating the earth, what type of environment do we need to see? And this is meant for us, the ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to be our own roadmap. And there are conditions and characteristics, right? So ayat 142 to 162, clarity of vision. The vision has to be clear, okay? Otherwise you can't. وَلِكُلٍّ وِجْهَةٌ هُوَ مُوَلِّيهَا فَاسْتَبِقُوا الْخَيْرَاتِ. Every group, they have their own direction. Now you focus your eyes on the right direction and compete for that which is good. وَكَذَلِكَ جَعَلْنَاكُمْ أُمَّةً وَسَطًا. We made you a middle of the road nation. Okay? This is again enhances our vision and enhances our sense of direction. Number 2, morals. 165 to 207, and we talked about this extensively. Actual character and not just rituals. ليس البر أن تولوا وجوهكم قبل المشرق والمغرب ولكن البر من آمن. Because a lot of people get caught up, just like Bani Israel, they get caught up in the rituals. But their akhlaq is behind, their morals are behind, their ethics are behind, their character, their behavior is behind. As long as I have a hijab and I pray 5 times a day and I say Jazakallah khair, I've become a good Muslim. No, it takes a lot more than that. Now those things are required, but those things are foundational. You're supposed to build on them with your character, with your morals, and so on and so forth. So it's a combination of ritual and behavior. The source of all of this morality is the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And 165 Allah says, وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَشَدُّ حُبًّا لِلَّهِ. Those who believe are most loving of God. And the most effective method of keeping it is our acts of worship. And that's why there's a conversation about fasting, right? آيات الصيام كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم آيات الحج وأتموا الحج والعمرة لله and آيات الصدقة وأنفقوا في سبيل الله. All of that again in the category of keeping up our morals with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number 3, causing the earth to thrive requires peaceful conditions, and we've seen 208 through 242 ادخلوا في السلم كافة. Find a way to enter collectively into the peace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number 4, tenacity. You have to have resilience. Without resilience, you cannot carry out this job. And we've seen the story of Talut and Jalut, David and Goliath, as detailed in Surat al-Baqarah. Section 3, which we are currently on, the foundations of Imaratul Ard are 2, al-fikru wal-mal, right? Good ideas and good clean wealth. You cannot build a civilization without those 2 things. Al-fikr wal-mal, intellect and wealth, right? So it starts with good ideas. You have to have the right ideas about God. Hence, Ayatul Kursi, which is the most powerful ayah that details Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in our minds, right? Freedom of choice, that is another good ideal that we espouse. La ikraha fi din. Rationality. The story of Ibrahim alayhi salam, and Nimrud, the Nimrod, the leader of the Babylonians, right? Alam tara ila alladhi hajja Ibrahim fi rabbih. The conversation that he had with this man, it's about establishing God rationally, all right? Accepting what's beyond sense perception, which is ghaib, and that is represented by 259, the story of Al-Uzair, أو كالذي مر على قرية وهي خاوية على عروشها. Second is wealth, al-mal. 267 يا أيها الذين آمنوا أنفقوا من طيبات ما كسبتم وما أنفقتم من نفقة أو نذرتم من نذر فإن الله يعلم. All these conversations about how to spend our wealth, how to earn our wealth, how to use our wealth to impact the world. In fact, the longest ayah in the Quran is about what? Ayatul Dain. It's the ayah that regulates debts. How do you create a business partnership? How do you write a contractual agreement? How to protect people's financial rights? This is the longest ayah in the Quran in Surah al-Baqarah, which is an ayah about financial practices, right? Battling poverty by exerting more effort and labor. الشيطان يعدكم الفقر, right? Protecting assets. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وذروا ما بقي من الربا. Why is riba haram? Because riba destroys assets. It destroys the financial rights of other people, right? Social justice. مثل الذين ينفقون أموالهم في سبيل الله كمثل حبة. And then the last section, cultivating the earth and causing it to thrive, is a massive undertaking that requires the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is a shared responsibility. We do our part, but we cannot do our part unless we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for His help. Hence the last section of the surah, لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. Allah is never going to place a burden on you except that something that you are able to carry. There is no responsibility that you cannot carry out. ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا وأخطأنا. Why? Because as we do our job, we will fall behind, we will commit sins, we will make mistakes, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for His help. If I tell you exactly where we stopped, last time it was in June. So we're currently on ayah. Ayatul Dain, yes. Ayatul Dain is ayah number yeah, 282. So we're close to the end of the surah. Wait a second, let me just be sure here. Yeah, 282. So inshallah, we will cover this next time. Meanwhile, I'll take some of your questions. You guys are welcome to ask me anything. If I don't know the answer, I'll promise I'll just say I don't know. So if you have any questions about Surah Al-Baqarah or about anything else that we do, please fire away. Ameen, ya Rabbal Alameen.
But the hadith narrated by Sayyidina Ali and how Quran is foundational for the lifestyle of Muslims and how to extract everything from the side. On the Surah Al-Baqarah, a couple of lataif about the story of the Baqarah. One is the questioning, what's your color, this, that the Jews went.
Yeah, are you making fun of us?
Is the karahiyah of qisas. They know qisas, right? So that's the thing. And the understanding that, hey, this is going to be another miracle. You touch something that is dead, you touch a dead with something that is dead, and now you have life, right? It's another proof for them to now believe they are seen, right? They are so materialistic that they wanted to see Allah, right? Arin Allah Jalla, many times before.
Subhanallah.
Right? So the miracles that come that way is basically a reinforcement. Hey, you gotta give in and give up.
Just let it go.
This idea, let go, that everything has to be physical.
Right.
So that's one of the lataif. The other one is.
I love that. Let me recap this to the crowd here. So Brother Hisham is saying that the reason the Hebrews were so antagonistic to the command of God is that discovering who committed the crime is gonna be followed by punishment. There has to be retribution, and they were so opposed to the idea of retribution because it would bring all kinds of political falling out with families and stuff like that. So they hated that notion. But also, I think what he said is that because there's a miracle involved here. You have to take something dead, like that piece of flesh, and strike someone who is dead, and out of that life comes. And the Hebrews were so materialistic to process that, and that's why Surah Al-Baqarah tells you الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بالغيب. It is a prerequisite of being happy in this world and doing God's work is that you have to believe of what resides beyond our tangible perception. You know, the five senses, that's not all there is. I know that this is what the world wants us to believe, but there's so much that cannot be explained by sense perception. We cannot explain love by sense perception. We cannot explain self-consciousness by sense perception. We cannot, there's so much that is way too complicated for the senses to explain. And so the Hebrews were opposed to that, and they did not like that there is some type of a miracle here. They, like Brother Shem says, they were very materialistic. They wanted to see God. Show me, and you know, it's all settled. Even Musa, you know, at some point, because you know he grew up in that culture, and he was perhaps influenced by it, you know, to a certain extent. He also asks Allah for what? Let me see you. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responds with absolute clarity. لن تراني. It's not going to happen. Okay? ولكن انظر إلى الجبل. Look at the mountain. I will reveal myself to the mountain. If the mountain stays where it is and it does not get destroyed upon seeing me, then I will reveal myself to you. Right? And so, you know, I think that's essentially what the brother was saying. Please.
The second, I think you said better than I said it. Thank you. The other item that, you know, comes to mind when, you know, we hear about Surat Baqarah is the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to mankind. Right? Already decreed that He's going to take him as a trustee on earth. Right? But didn't, hey, you're a trustee, take care of it. Right? It's not like,
Figure it out.
yeah, figure it out. وعلم آدم الأسماء. Himself, that Ali, takes one of the creation and takes the time to teach it. Right? And the honor that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put. There's no dispute of, hey, who's at the highest status? Malaika, you do sujood.
SubhanAllah.
And all the training, right? And after the training, okay, you're going to mess up, you're going to make mistakes. It's not the end. Don't despair. Come back to me and do istighfar. The love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to us humans is beyond. And to me, it always, you know, when I read وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا, I stop, I have a reset, my brain stops, you know, Allah's love to Adam, our father, and to all his progeny and offspring. So such an amazing thing.
Absolutely. He empowered him with all the resources that he needs in order to be successful in his journey. And he gave him all the knowledge that he needed in order to do that job. And again, when you think about it today, we have access to that same knowledge. We know exactly where to get it. And we know exactly what is expected of us. So it's just a matter of having the fortitude to carry it out. Any other questions? Yes.
So when Allah told the Malaika, إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً, how did the Malaika know before the life started already on earth that Allah would create people who corrupt and kill others
Yeah, we did cover that extensively during our Tafseerah sessions. The sister's asking why did the angels assume automatically that man is going to commit crimes and spread corruption and mischief and spill blood and so forth? يَسْفِكُ الدِّمَاء. I mean, that's such a strong statement, you know, that human beings will be spilling blood. How did they know? The scholars have had, again, I think we've dedicated probably 2 sessions to that, but the scholars have had some theories about this, and one of them said that because the jinn were on earth before us and they've done this, so the angels assumed that we will do that as well. And so, you know, there are perspectives on this, and we shared some of those perspectives that perhaps there was presence of higher primates before human beings, and those primates acted in this sort of like barbaric fashion, and then the angels assumed that human beings will do the same. Is it possible that Adam alayhi salam is not necessarily the first, but rather the first human being, but rather the first human being to have self-consciousness and to have morality and so on and so forth. There are theories about this. People sometimes get a little bit weirded out because they're kind of like out of what we've been ordinary taught. But that is basically what's going on with there. It is a possibility that there is a prior memory of the angels of human behavior, and that they've seen human beings do certain things to each other. And if that is the case, then that would basically make Adam not necessarily the first human, but rather the first conscious human, or the first moral human. Again, these are weaker opinions, I have to say, but ones that do exist nonetheless.
Could the angels also have the knowledge of the ghaib, or something that they foresaw with the knowledge of the ghaib, and hence concluded that this is the eventual fate for?
Well, the angels know what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala let them know. They will never know anything beyond what God has given them capacity to know. And so if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed that to them, that human beings have the capacity to hurt each other, then perhaps they spoke from that place. But we don't know. It's not clear in the tradition, where that comes from. Yes?
Isn't there a story about the orphan who the cow belonged to in Baqarah, and then all the inquiries about the Baqarah led to that orphan to get the money, a lot of money for
In some of the ahadith, it does talk about this and how this orphan, needed the money. Or in some of the narrations, they even say that some of the Hebrews owed him or his family a lot of money, and that was Allah's way of paying them back, basically. Yeah. Any other questions? So, inshallah, the kids are going to come for Salatul Dhuhr around 1 o'clock, is it? Oh, okay. So they will get ready for Dhuhr, but inshallah we'll pray Dhuhr at 1:15 or 1:20. So you guys are welcome to stick around. But here's some of the exciting things, inshallah, that are coming up. By the way, our staff is here, and I want you guys to know who they are. Sister Layla over there, she's our chief of staff here at the Tarbiyah House Roseville, which just another fancy way of calling her the boss of all things. So we all work with her, and she's, mashallah, she's leading our work here in Roseville. And next to her is not next to her is actually Sister Khadija, who used to be our office manager, and now she moved on to bigger and better things. But to her left is Sister Farah. She's our current office manager. Please make dua for her. She's not feeling very well. And so our staff is always here for you guys. If you need anything, please talk to us. Let us know if you have any feedback, any suggestions. We want to hear it. And this is really exciting. Do you see that corner back there where the shoe shelves are, where some of the carpet is in that corner? So we plan to, inshallah ta'ala, very soon open this up that will connect to the other side of the building, and we are creating a community space that will become like a coffee shop, inshallah. And so I don't want to overpromise, okay? So, there's still a lot of hoops that we have to get through. We have to work with the city, and we have to get approvals. But if everything went well, we might actually have something operational a little bit later this year. What we want to do, however, inshallah, before Ramadan, and again, I don't want to overpromise. We're working really hard to actually make it happen, but there's a lot of hurdles. We plan to rip out the space, demo everything, create an open community space. We're going to, inshallah, refloor it. We'll put new flooring, repaint, and put like some vending machines, a few sofas, a couple of TV screens, and make that into like a hangout space for the community. It's going to be about 1,500 square feet of internal space and about 600 square feet of outdoor space as well. So we are in the corner of the building by this little road right here in Foothills, that corner that has the Tarbiyah Institute sign. So inshallah ta'ala, that's going to be the corner where the community space is. So on a day like Sunday, you come, you attend Tafseerah, you learn a little bit, put some food in the heart, and then go grab some coffee and some donuts and put some food in the belly. And hang out, inshallah, until the kids finish Sunday school, and then take them to go home. I guarantee it's going to be better than going to the Galleria Mall. So we're excited, inshallah, about some of these changes. And if you have any feedback, if you have construction experience, if you'd like to donate money to help us in the demo project, I think we just got a bid that it'll cost about $10,000. Is it in one of the 15? About 15,000 in the vicinity of $15,000 just to do the demo. So that's going to be quite a bit of a project. So your help is always welcome. Let us know, inshallah, if you go on the website. And if you want to donate to that project, you can earmark your donation specifically to this. The other thing that we're working on that is very, very exciting is that, mashallah, the city of Roseville gave us 1,200 people in this room, between about 1,200, 1,100, something like that, between the musalla and the multi-purpose hall, definitely over 1,000. And in many nights now in Ramadan, also many Fridays, the space gets really, really crowded. And so what we plan to do, inshallah, is we're going to take this wall down, all of this wall, and we're adding the hallway into this space, and we're taking the wall after as well, adding this entire space to the hallway. So the musalla is going to go all the way to the back bathrooms right there. And so those bathrooms will basically serve the musalla, men and women. And then the bathrooms over there, they're going to be for Sunday school and for our education suite. And we wanted to minimize traffic. A lot of brothers, they have to cross the musalla, go to the bathrooms, and sometimes barefoot, and then come back. So we're trying to eliminate this, and the bathrooms, inshallah, are going to be back there. So that's going to be very exciting. This will probably add, how much, maybe an additional 1,000 square feet? Yeah, a little bit more than that even. So inshallah, that's going to be amazing to accommodate more people and to make our multi-purpose hall, much bigger to accommodate more events. So please work with us on those things. Very exciting year, inshallah. Last but not least, 2025 is the 10-year anniversary of the Tarbiyah Institute. So we're going to have celebrations. We're going to have, really exciting things this year. So we want you to be a part of that. Make dua for us and our team, inshallah ta'ala. جزاك الله خير سبحانك اللهم بحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر الإنسان في خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. إن شاء الله, see you guys at Salat al-Dhuhr. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi. We need to turn off the live stream. Where is the thing? Alayhi salam. Alhamdulillah, sister. How you doing?